Hi everyone and welcome back to another art journal video, and today it's back to basics. I will be playing with favorite techniques that I used to do when I started art journaling, and the inspiration for today's page comes from this big tree from Art by Marlene, and I'm planning to combine it with this little girl. I will start by doing some collage, and for that I'm using one of the papers. These are tissue pages from Art by Marlene. I chose to go with the one with lots of numbers, and today I'm working on a double page spread, and this is my small dilutions journal. I'm tearing off the tissue paper into smaller pieces, and then I'm going to make a collage and stick them down on my page. This is a great technique to get rid of that white background, and you can definitely go ahead and stick the whole tissue paper all over both of the pages. Look at it as a first layer. Sometimes that first layer may not show that much at the finished project. However, it is very important since it helps your creativity. It is definitely a great starting point, especially if you don't have an idea of what you want to create. And trust me, if you do this step, ideas will start coming to you while you stick little pieces down. I'm sticking everything down, by the way, with my matte medium. While my matte medium is drying, I'm going to do some stamping and work on my big focal point, which is the tree. So I did have that idea to play with pattern paper, which is a technique that I used to do a lot back in the day. I'm going to stamp the tree in different green pattern papers, and you can see I went through my stash to find pattern papers that have stripes or little details and dots, etc. All of them are green, however they are different shades. And the idea is to cut out each one of those layers and put that tree together back again, so having different patterns for every one of the tiers. It will make sense in a bit. So here I'm going to do some fuzzy cutting. I will do a lot of cutting, however it is super easy. You can see just straight lines, and I will cut out all the different layers so that I can stack one on top of the other at the end. So it is basically paper piecing. It is a great technique to help you play with the pattern paper that you already have in your stash. And I'm making sure that all the layers are alternating from lighter to darker, and they all have different designs on top of them. It's a great way to bring any stamp into life instead of just coloring it with your coloring mediums. I am sticking everything one on top of the other by using my glue, and there is a little star that you can stick at the top, which I'm going to stamp later on and color it in with alcohol markers to make it look nice and bright. And I'm getting ready to stamp the girl, however Ginger decided to make an appearance, and he's actually trying to drink water from my brush's cup. And of course I don't want him to do that, and I'm just moving the cup here and there. If you have a cat, you know how that goes. I have to stop the camera for a while, go and give him some clean water, and I'll come back. And I'm back into stamping. Now Ginger is already 7 years old and he's not as naughty as he used to be. However, sometimes he just makes my life difficult when I try to craft. Anyway, I'm stamping the girl and she is absolutely amazing, perfect for an art journal. I also need to stamp that tree up at the top so that I can color it in. I didn't cut it out from pattern paper, I was too lazy to do that, but you can definitely do that from yellow pattern paper. Then I did stamp everything with black ink, which is alcohol marker friendly. Since I'm going to color everything with my alcohol markers, you can definitely go with your watercolors or any other medium, as long as it is of course transparent, since you don't want to lose all those black lines. I'm coloring everything with my alcohol markers. These are the Spectrum Noir tree blends, and they do come with 3 different shades in one barrel. They are my go-to alcohol markers just because they make my job really easy, and I don't pay too much attention on coloring and shading. I just do really quick coloring here. If you are enjoying my art journal videos, don't forget to like as well as hit the bell to get a notification whenever I post a new video. These are just a few ways to support my channel and help me share even more. Okay, here is a close-up look on the girl and how she looks after I colored her. She looks a bit sad to me, so with a fine tip marker, I'm going to give her a smile, a bigger smile. This is something that I used to do. And also some larger eyelashes. And then I'm going to use my crazy fuzzy cutting skills and I will cut her all around. If you want to avoid that really difficult fuzzy cutting, you can always use a white border all around or just stamp her directly on top of your page and color her there. So here I'm just going to finish off the tree by sticking the star at the top. Now my background is dry, so I can go ahead and add some color. I decided to go with acrylic paints. These are the Art by Marlene new acrylic paints. They come in sets, but you can also get them individually. And I'm starting with Mermaid and Heaven. This is just a quick wash, just mixing the two colors directly on the page, and just the first layer. Then again, for the second layer, I'm using the same two colors, and this time I'm going with a thinner brush, mainly going up and down and mixing the colors directly on top of the page. On my non-stick craft mat, I just apply a little bit of paint every time so I don't waste any, and if I need more I can always add. Now let's make the background more interesting by adding a few more colors. This time I'm going with white and sand. And remember, this is acrylic paint, which means that it's going to dry completely permanent. The first layer, the blue shades, is completely dry, so whatever I apply on top is not going to blend with what's underneath. Again, my brush strokes are only up and down. This is a technique that I used to do a lot. I absolutely love the result, but you can definitely make them diagonally or any way that you like. I just love the up and down one. Now I'm going to bring in a little bit of yellow. This is not going to show as yellow at the end since I do have blue underneath. It's going to give a shade of light green. And of course, with this technique you can go ahead and add layers upon layers using different colors to make it as colorful as you like. I don't want that to end up too busy since I will have quite a lot of colors for my focal point, so I'm just going to stop somewhere here. Now let's do some stenciling. I'm roughly placing the tree on its place so that I can use one of the stencils. This is a big stencil by the latest collection by Art by Marlene, and I'm going to do dry brushing over it by using white. This is white acrylic paint. You can definitely go with a paste if you like. I didn't want to have any dimensional texture back there, so I decided to go with just that. And I don't want that to be as vibrant as it looks at the moment, so I'm just going to bring in a paper towel and just wipe off any excess. And if you follow my videos, you know the next step. I need to do some stamping on my background to give some visual texture. So for that I went with one of my all-time favorites, script text, and I'm going to stamp with black archival ink this time. I want to have some definition back there. I'm making sure always that the stamping looks quite organic and it doesn't look perfect. Now I'm switching to another stamp. This one has a smaller font text and I'm going to stamp with that here and there as well. Again, I'm not paying any attention to what those stamps say. If you have a text stamp that has Christmas sayings, it would be even better. I am not going to bother and grab that one. I just use whatever I have just next to me. Now I'm going to do some more stamping. This time I'm using a stamp that gives that canvas look and feel on my background. This is a stamp that I had for ages. I think it used to be a 6x6 stamp, but I cut it to be smaller. And I'm stamping with blue archival ink, just a shade darker than my background. Now this background combines all of my favorite techniques when it comes to background, but there is one thing missing, and that's the border. So for my border today, I'm going with that wonky one all around. I'm using a black marker and I'm just going to draw my lines. Be confident as you draw the lines. If something doesn't fit you, it's not a big deal. This is just a border and you can always erase it by adding something on top of it. You can see mine isn't perfect up at the corner. Anyway, Make sure that before you draw with your marker, everything is completely dry. You don't want to touch any acrylic paint with the tip of your marker, otherwise it's going to ruin it. Now I'm going to bring in acrylic paint and I'm going to cover up completely the outside of that border with red. You see, just because those acrylic paints have a fine tip, I can easily apply the color directly on top of my page and then just spread it out with my brush. Now, once that red paint is completely dry, you can go ahead and add some white details if you like. This is a look that I am going for and I absolutely love it. However, it would take me forever if I was going to do that with my gel pen. So I decided to switch on a marker, and that's a Posca pen marker, which is really quick and easy. To help that border come forward and to add some shading, I'm using a blue big brush marker. I'm just blending it out with my fingers, and I'm able to do that because I do have acrylic paint underneath, which makes my page non-porous. And now it's time to stick my focal points on top of my page. I am going to make sure that the star is at the center of that stenciled area up at the top, and just to ground somehow my focal points, I'm going to use washi tape. This is a washi tape that I have from last year. This is by All and Create and it is one of my favorites. And for sticking down my images, I will go with matte medium underneath as well as at the top to cover them up completely. By the way, you know that I absolutely love reading your comments, and the ideas are always welcomed. If you want me to use a specific collection or a specific brand, let me know in the comments below so that I can check that out. And it's time to use my artist pens. These are by Faber-Castell, my big brush markers as I call them. And I'm going to use a darker shade of green and add some shading underneath those layers. So this is going to help the tree pop even more and separate those layers from one another. Shading really makes a difference in paper piecing. And you see, for the darker layers of pattern paper, I'm using a very dark shade of green here. And then I will switch on a lighter green to add some shading on the rest of the layers. This is a technique that you cannot do with alcohol markers because alcohol markers dry instantly on top of porous and non-porous surfaces. And I grab here my acrylic markers so that I can color in the ornaments. The difference between those markers and the ones that I was using previously is that these go opaque, as you can see, while the big brush markers are transparent. So if I'm not very careful with these ones, I'm going to cover the black lines. They work just like acrylic paint. There are many different brands of these acrylic markers. You can find them with different nibs, thicker and finer. My favorites are the Pebeo ones. And it's time for the white gel pen to make an appearance. I'm just going to add some highlights on all my cutouts. At this stage, the page is practically done. I'm just adding those little details. And of course, I need to add a quote. I always like to have a saying on top of my layouts. And in the Christmas tree stamp set, there is a sentiment there that says, "Don't get on Santa's naughty list." So instead of stamping that as it is, I decided to use this one, but I combined stamping with printing it out, a part of it with my label maker, which is something that I always like to do, combining bigger and smaller fonts for my art journals. The alphabet stamp set that I used to put the naughty word together is a super old alphabet stamp by Hero Arts. I believe this is about 10 years old. It is obviously discontinued, but lately I try to use more things from my stash, and this is definitely one of my favorite alphabets that I have in my collection. So just like always, I outlined the quote, and now with my white gel pen I'm going to add some highlights on those letters. And of course there is something missing that I didn't do throughout the page, and that's, you guessed it, splashes. So I'm going to add some white splashes and I'm going to call this page done. And that was the layout for today. I hope that you had fun and that you got inspired. Don't forget to like and comment, and just like always you will find a full list of all the supplies that I used down below in the description area. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I'll see you all next time.